my name is Parastu Imami, and I'm the host of the Road to Success for Your Highly Sensitive Child. This podcast is about empowering parents of highly sensitive children to nurture their child's unique personality trait and create a path to success. Our podcast provides guidance, insights, and support to help you unlock your child's full potential, fostering resilience, confidence, and a bright future. If you're new to my podcast, please go back and listen to episodes 1 and 2 because they provide information on high sensitivity that all subsequent episodes will build upon. If you skip these episodes, you won't get as much out of this and all subsequent episodes. To book a private coaching session with me, please visit my website at parentinghsc.com. If you're looking for a talented portrait photographer, I highly recommend Laurie Bishop of Become Studios. Check our website at www.becomebeseen.com. You can find this link in my podcast's description. For a limited time, if you use the promo code PARISDO100, you will get a $100 credit towards photo purchases. Today's podcast is a continuation of episode 47, which was released on November 19th, 2024, with my amazing guest, Dortha Hise. I know as a highly sensitive person, that really impacts us,
Yes.
being there for someone who has gone through such a traumatic experience. We feel their pain,
Yep.
we feel what they're feeling, and it's so much.
Yes.
And it's like as if you're the one who's gone through that situation. And but I'm so proud of you for doing that, despite the fact that it was so much for you, so much for you to take on. And also that you realize that these people needed you,
Yeah.
irrespective of how hard it was for you to be there for them. You chose to be there for them and you chose to help them out.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. It
I'm
was
so proud of you.
thank you. Yeah, it was a challenge. I mean, I did enjoy the work. But like you said, it was the feeling of it and having had my own experience, there's some, that trauma and I think I've talked to you about the somatic work that you do. I am also studying some somatic practices and that can be so hugely therapeutic to have those
Yeah.
tools to be able to pull on. And I also think if my parents had some of those tools when I was a kid, it would have been hugely helpful for me to be able to process, some of the things that I experienced and some of the, just childhood things that happen when we grow up, car accidents and things like that. It's like it would have been helpful to have some of these tools then that I'm grateful for now. And I share with others who will listen, not everybody listens, but if you will, I will share.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like that too. I really love to share my knowledge, especially if I know somebody can help, get help from it, or if they can benefit from it. I definitely share it and
Yeah.
try to help as many people as possible. Especially what happens to me in my life is that this happens over and over again. I'm really hoping that it would stop happening because what happens is that I go through a really bad experience and then I learn from it. I gather all the information I need. I do all the research, all of that, because we are highly sensitive people. So if you don't have information, if you don't have the knowledge, guess what? We're going to go seek that knowledge and we're going to
That's
learn,
right.
right? We're going to educate ourselves.
That's right.
And then I would get all this done. I would get through that circumstance, and then somebody I know would go through it. And guess what? Now they won't have the experience that I did, because now they have me to basically hand over that nice package. Here you go. This is how you handle it. This is what you need to do. I've done years of research for you that you can just use and don't put any effort into. And that happens to me all the time with things that are big, things that are small. It doesn't matter. It happens all the time. And
Yeah.
then the minute I learn something, somebody comes into my life that needs to have that same knowledge.
Yeah. It's
So I
interesting
make it easy. Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no, no.
I was just saying, like, because what I think what we're talking about here at the underlying level is that we're lifelong learners and
Yes.
we always, like you said, striving to be better and improving ourselves. I'm over here on my left, I have like materials, things that I'm studying and like courses and certifications that I'm doing because my two bachelor's degrees and my certificate of completion in graphic design are just not enough.
Mm.
I just have a need to strive to be better and to
Yeah.
learn more and ultimately, what I hope is that it's something that I learn is helpful to pass on to someone else, right? That's
Yeah.
the tool chest that I'm building. I'm hoping like has all the pretty things in it and that I get to pull out all of those things at some point to help someone and to be beneficial to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why we do the work that we do, right?
Hmm. Yep.
I mean, I think it's important for highly sensitive people to have a positive impact in other people's lives.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started this podcast, it was just supposed to be my hobby, right? It was just a hobby. I thought that this is fun for me to be able to help others and learn how to be a podcaster. I've never done it in my life. I've never, spoke publicly. Um, I've never done anything similar to this before, and I thought, oh, this is a great platform for me to basically teach other people globally and reach a
Yeah.
lot of people, right?
Yes.
And I started doing this, and my producer asked me why I'm doing this, and I said because I want to have a positive impact in people's lives. And that's anything that I do in my life on a daily basis. I ask myself, did I have a positive impact on somebody's life today? If
Hmm.
I didn't yet, I'm going to go find that person or I'm going to have a positive impact on their life
That's right. That's right.
because there's
Yep.
always someone who can use our help and who could, who may not have the resources that we have,
Yeah.
and so it's important for us as highly sensitive people to be helping others. That's basically something that we're born with. We're born as servers,
Yeah.
service providers, I mean to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because I didn't know this about myself because I think as I shared already that, my husband and I consciously chose not to have children of our own
Mhm.
and knew that like all of our friends would probably have kids and we'd have tons of nieces and nephews and all the things. Um, but I will tell you, one of the things that I absolutely love is when we are out hiking or on a backpacking trip somewhere and little girls come running up to me and they just look at me and they're like, oh, because they're just like, oh my gosh, like you're a grown woman. And because they're usually out with their dads and they haven't seen a lot of women, and I'm not saying there aren't a lot of women on the trail, but they just haven't seen,
Mhm.
someone maybe who's willing to talk to them. Maybe somebody like I wear a skirt when I hike, I wear a skirt.
Mhm.
And I think that that's something that's very uniquely different about the way
Mhm.
that I hike and I do backpacking trips. And these girls are just so cute. I see it in their face, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, and I ask them questions, where are you guys going? And all of that to engage them because I think it's important. And as a kid, it was something that I wish people had done with me
Yeah.
more and,
Yeah.
like engaged me and asked me my opinion because I didn't get that a lot as a kid. And, I feel like I missed out on sharing things I had to share.
Yeah, that's a great point. You're right. I had the same situation, but
Mm,
with me, it was because my parents would tell me, basically, don't speak unless we ask you to. And so I never
mm,
was allowed to give my opinion because
yeah.
they never asked me to speak. I mean,
Well,
that
and
like
the thing that's
they
frustrating.
basically wanted me to be quiet.
Yeah. And then, what's frustrating about that is as adults, and I've really struggled with this in my marriage, and my husband would tell you, I'm not speaking mistruths here. Like,
Mhm.
um, I struggle with making definitive decisions. He's like,
Mhm.
oh, and it's simple things, right? Like, what do you want for dinner? I don't care. Whatever. Right. But it is a big deal because And it's a decision. And the fact that I'm saying I don't care, using those literal actual words is like complete deflection. And like he has gotten has hurt his feelings hurt over it. He's just like, babe, he's like, it's like you're checked out. And I'm like, no, honey, I'm not checked out. I just really don't have an opinion about it.
Mhm.
And really, what's at the core of that is not having a voice, like you're saying, not
Yeah,
having that voice in your childhood. And I don't know that my parents ever said, like, oh, we don't want to hear from you kind of thing, but it was just that I wasn't necessarily encouraged to speak up.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that that actually very much resonates with me because I remember have this amazing friend that I learned so much from. Her name is Kim. She is she was in my life from when I was, I think, in my 20s. Since I was in my 20s, we're still friends. We were colleagues at Sun Microsystems together, and we would hang out as friends. And
Mm.
I remember one time she asked me what I wanted, where I wanted to go for, dinner, and I said, I don't know, whatever is good for you. And then she turned around and said, you might be thinking that you are helping and being easygoing, but not stating your opinion is actually not helpful.
Yeah.
And to this day, every time somebody asks me a question, before I answer them, I pause. Her voice is in my head telling me when somebody asks you a question, they truly want your opinion. I don't know, doesn't help.
It's not a
I don't
constructive
help is
answer.
not a good answer to any question. So, but then
Yes.
now I always tell my opinion, but then I say, if that's not what you like to eat, why don't you suggest something? I'm very flexible, which is true. I was born to be
Yes.
flexible with my family
Oh my
because
gosh.
I
Hmm.
mean, they moved so much. I mean, so much that I had
I
to
didn't know we
become,
shared that in common.
yeah. Oh my God. So many times. And that's horrible for a highly sensitive child. They want stability. They want routine. They want to know what's happening, right? As a child, especially. I never knew what was happening. Today we could be here, tomorrow we could be in the US, 3 months from them we could be in Germany. Who knew what was going to happen? And my parents didn't care. Hey, we're going to Germany for 6 months. You're going to go to school in Germany. Well, I don't
Oh
speak
my
German.
gosh.
I mean,
Oh, that is
you know,
awful.
or okay, no, now we're going back to Iran and you're going to have to go and pass the exam so that you could go to the next level. And then they would be like, okay, now we're going to go to the US to visit our family there, and we're going to be there for a while. So now you got to speak English. I'm like, okay, I don't know how to speak English.
How
So it's
confusing.
just like so crazy. But I learned to be very flexible because it wasn't
Yes.
just moving within the country in Iran. It was moving abroad, moving here, moving there, and it
Ugh.
was just chaos. So you had to learn to be flexible. Otherwise, you would turn out to be like a total like crazy person.
Yeah, you would lose it. I have to ask this question, Sarah, too, because I am so curious to know that since we share this in common, one of the other pet peeves my husband has is I have no attachment to things.
Mm.
Literally, he'll say, "Oh, this is cluttered over here," and I'll just be like, "Throw it away." He's like, "Well, don't you
Oh.
want to look at it?" And I'm like, "Nope. If it's sitting there and it's clutter and it's bothering you, no, I don't need to see it. Just get rid of it." And
Mhm.
that like very deeply bothers him. And it's because of this thing we're talking about where we moved so often.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of possessions. Like every time we moved, I had to make sure, okay, like I have my jacket and my blankie and my whatever, right? But it wasn't like I had this collection of dolls or this toys or these things. And it's something that I've never grown out of.
Mm.
And I know that it bothers him. So now at least I'll say, okay, I'll look at it. But honestly, I'm still just like, shoot it in the trash. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah. I I have that in common with you to a point.
Hmm.
So yes, I don't have attachment to things.
Yes.
And the reason is I have attachment to one thing though.
What's that?
My house has to be my sanctuary.
Yes.
It has to be it has to be in a way that makes me feel good to come home, makes me feel at peace.
Hmm.
I can't have clutter. I can't have things that are extra. I can't, if my couch is not comfortable, no matter how much I paid for it, it will go into the trash or it will go to my brother's house. I don't want it because I'm not comfortable on it. And
Yep.
I don't care about the money aspect of it. I need comfort. And I'm willing to pay whatever amount of money to have my comfort.
Mm.
Um, I mean, not to put myself into debt or anything. I've never
No, I
done
get it.
that, but I definitely spend the money on making myself comfortable at home.
Yeah.
So I am attached to like making sure my home is my sanctuary. That's very important for a highly sensitive person. If
Yeah.
your home is not your sanctuary, then you can't reach, you don't have any place to retreat on a daily basis, right? So
Yes.
that's very important. However, if you told me, okay, if my mom said, for example, can I have your oven, like your air fryer, because I really don't like to cook, so this is going to be making my life easy. I would say, oh, absolutely, take it. I don't have any attachment to materialistic things. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but so I think that is also because we moved so much. And the last time we moved from Iran to the US for good, I knew I was moving for good. I wasn't allowed to take anything. We
Oh my
moved, like
gosh.
all of a sudden, my parents told me, tomorrow you're going to the US with your mom and your little brother. My brother was just born. You're going, with your mom and your older brother and I are going to stay here. This is my dad talking. So you're not allowed to take anything with you except for your clothes. And
Wow.
here's a suitcase. That's all you can fill just with clothes, nothing else. So I couldn't take anything. I had dolls. I had Barbie collection that I absolutely adored. I had to leave them all behind.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was really hard on me because
Mm.
I was a child. I was 11 years old and all these things mattered to me. And
Yeah.
I think as a highly sensitive child, all your possessions matter to you. Like you don't want anything to happen to them. You don't want it to be destroyed. You take very good care of whatever it is that you have. And I
Yeah.
did. I took really good care of my stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I couldn't take it, I was devastated. Like, oh my God, I can't take my doll. My doll, my grandma gave me that doll. It came from the US. It was like this speaking doll, and it was nobody else had it. It was,
Oh.
super unique. I love that doll. Yeah, we used to call it, I think we call it Kukulu. It had blonde hair, blue eyes, beautiful face, and it would talk. It would like it had things that it would say. So I can't remember what it would say, but I remember it would talk. And so I think after that I just detached from things. I
Yeah.
learned not to have such, because my feelings were so hurt and they were
Yes.
so strong that I was just like, oh my God, I'm devastated. I'm absolutely,
Mm.
devastated that I can't take anything with me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. That story just reminded me of again, I was 5 or less when this happened. My half brother uh was playing with fire and like trying to start fires.
Mm,
And I remember, and now it's like choppy, of course, because I was however young I was, but I remember sitting in the back seat with him and like I think they had taken him to the hospital or something, but he had like the iodine smell on him because they like, whatever they did to him to clean him up. And that smell like very much comes back to me as
mm.
I tell this story. But I'm reminded like I was hitting him saying like he was trying to burn my toys. Like I'm like, what are you doing? Like I was like hitting him on the arm and stuff. I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, you're trying to burn my stuff down. So I get your point about being attached to those things that we had until something happens that
Yes.
there's a catalyst or a tipping point of some sort that because we moved so much, we just stopped. Like, nope, no more material things. I don't care.
Yeah, because it hurt too much,
Yeah.
because we do actually, um, normally highly sensitive children do get attached to their things. But then if you have an experience where that was ripped away from you and it
Yeah.
hurts like so deeply,
Yeah.
then you go, okay, I don't want to feel that pain ever again. So you
Yeah.
learn right away. And we're very good at this, by the way. We're very good at learning not to get hurt. Because
Avoiding it.
yeah, because we feel things so deeply that we don't
Yeah.
want to feel that pain,
Yeah.
and so we learn we learn like, okay, I've had that experience. I don't want to have that experience again. So, I'm definitely not gonna have it, whether it's
Yeah.
like not having an attachment to it or something else.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting, because I think I would say mine were books. Like I was a
Yeah,
voracious reader as a
yeah, me
kid.
too.
And so I think because I could get into the story, like literally be in the story with
Yeah,
all the
me too.
characters, and I'm just like, oh yeah, like my best friend is, well, at the time, Stephen King. I read a lot of Stephen King books as a kid, which, probably explains a lot, but
No, I like
I
him. I
I have
think
a very
yeah.
dark sense of all the things, but um yeah, I liked a lot of his books and read, like I said, just tons and could get into the stories and could relate, I guess, and just like make friends with the characters that, they would become my friends.
I love that. I was like that too. Like when I was an avid reader to the point where at night when I was little, I would go under the blanket with my flashlight. I would wait for everyone to go to bed because I was not allowed to stay up. So I
Yes.
would wait for everyone to go to bed. And then I would get my flashlight out and I would go under my blanket and I would read my books that my dad got. And then in the morning, I would have finished everything, right? In the morning, I would go to my dad, turn in my books. Okay, dad, I read all these books. Please get me more books. And my dad is like, I just got you these books. How did you finish them already? And I'd be like, I don't know. I read them already.
I'm
Can
just
you please
fast.
get me more? And then my dad would come home the next day with more books. I mean, I don't know. I think he was purchasing them. I don't think he was.
It wasn't the
I don't
library.
remember that we had a library at that time. I don't think so because we were
Yeah.
living in Iran. So I think he was purchasing them and then he'd
Mm.
be like, oh my God, how many books do you read? And then when I got older, you were into Stephen King, but I was into Mary Higgins Clark.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I loved her books. I loved,
Yes.
and I solved all the mysteries way ahead of time, so I knew what was going to happen at the end.
Yeah.
I loved
I
solving
love it.
the puzzles. Oh my God, it was so interesting. And I was working the next day. Like sometimes, this was early in my 20s, and I was working the next morning, like super early in the morning, and I still would not go to bed because it was so fascinating and I couldn't put my book down. I was like,
Yeah.
I have to finish this. I
Have to
kept
find
saying,
out
I
what
have to
happens.
finish this chapter, and I would stop, and that never stopped. I would
Yeah.
read it all the way to the end.
So relatable.
Yeah, for sure. It was like, I think that that's definitely something that a lot of highly sensitive people have in common, especially if they're introverts. A lot of introvert, like, 70% of highly sensitive people are introverts. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of them love reading books.
Yeah. Very relatable. I'm one of those.
Yeah, for
St
sure.
and still do. Like we listen to a lot of books on audio.
I do too.
Um, it's because it's just a little bit easier, but nothing gets me away from a physical book. Like
Mhm.
love, love, love the physical
Yeah,
touching, smelling, all of
yeah,
that
me too. I
sensory
definitely
experience.
have some physical books right by my bed, and I have the Audible as well that I
Uh-huh.
listen to. Like when I'm walking my dog Melody, I always like, she has to stop and smell everything. So I get bored. So I listen to books while she's doing that. Then I don't care, as she can be as slow as she wants because I'm
That's right.
listening. I'm getting either entertained or I'm gaining knowledge depending on the type of book that I'm reading.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so let's move on. Before we go into your adulthood more, can you give some advice like to parents of highly sensitive children based on your own experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we've talked about a lot of them and you've sort of given some great tips along the way already. I think being encouraging, I think I really enjoyed how you described when your kid comes home with a paper or a project or whatever, with whatever grade they got, praising them first and then going to the, oh, well, if you want to talk about these areas where, like, let's talk about it. I feel like that's really constructive and helpful. Um, and for me, I think I would have been happier to have received feedback like that. I feel like that's a really good one. I also think encouraging your child's sense of curiosity, sense of like play and creativity and all of that is really important, whether it's cooking or dancing or coloring or painting or whatever it is that they find, and you may feel that they have like they're obsessed with it a little bit, like encourage it because as soon as you give one quash of it, they're going to think it's bad and that they shouldn't be doing it. And I know that's the way I felt. And I'm always disappointed that, I didn't get to write more as a kid and that I
Yeah.
didn't dance more. I mean, I did dance into my early 20s, but it wasn't something that was encouraged in a way that made it feel like, oh yeah, like everybody does it. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think those are kind of two big ones for me.
I think it's also important to not compare the child to any other child or
Great point.
student or sibling because every child is unique and you want them to be unique. Uniqueness is amazing. I love
Yes.
anything and everything that is unique, I
Yeah.
get attracted to. Um,
Yes.
I don't want to be like any other person. I want to be me. And,
Yeah.
I think you should encourage your child to be exactly who they are.
Hmm.
Unapologetic. I can't say that word.
Unapologetically.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
know.
Teamwork.
As I'm getting older, I think my English is going out the door, and I think my brain is saying, too many languages, get rid of some of them in
I
there,
was just going to
make
say, your
room
brain
for
is
it.
just like figuring out which language it wants to say it in.
As we wrap up today's episode, I want to remind you that you have the power to create a bright and successful future for your highly sensitive child. Embrace their uniqueness, nurture their strengths, and provide them with the love and support they need. Together, we can pave a path to success that aligns with their sensitivity. Thank you for joining us today. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We'll be here with more insights and inspiration in our next episode. Until then, keep believing in your child's potential because they truly are extraordinary. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and stay committed to setting your child up for success in life. If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please leave a review, share with other parents, and reach out to us with any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. To book a private coaching session with me, please visit my website at parentinghsc.com.